So a standing start today. Just coming into mountain pose. And we'll take it the traditional version where the feet are together, the heels are slightly apart. And you're going to actually tuck the tailbone down a little bit. So you're going to feel these hip bones just rise a little bit as that happens and the belly draw in. And let the hands come to the side, palms facing forwards, and just relaxing the shoulders a little bit. We'll take some breaths here. If you wish, you can close your eyes and or stretch your toes out as well. You can lift the toes away from the floor a little bit, give them a wriggle out. Just taking a moment to check in, see how you feel. How does your balance feel? Mine seems to change on a daily basis. Sometimes I seem to have better sense of balance than other days. I don't quite understand why that is, but I do appreciate it happens in my body. Bring the palms together as we open the eyes, and it's going to bring the hands together until the fingers get a little bit of wrist rolling going on. So really just trying to get a little bit of juice in there, and also encouraging the shoulders to move around a little bit. So we're protracting the shoulder blades a little. Going in all directions. And then we'll release those out. Give the arms a little bit of a shake as well. And just bring the fingers onto the collarbones for some angel wings. Again, we draw the elbows together close in. Get that little bit of a rounding in the upper back. Lift the shoulders up as you breathe in. Draw the shoulders back, let the chest open. Bring the elbows into the body and then across the front of the chest, lifting up. And we'll take it a few times in the opposite direction. Let hands come back down. Shake it out a little bit. We'll come up to the very front of the mat. We'll take the feet about hip distance apart. Bring hands in towards the heart as you take your breath in. And on the exhale, draw the belly in, lift the thighs a little, take weight into the toes, so soften the knees just a fraction. Bring the hands down to the floor. Come up onto the shins, lengthen the spine out, fold it back in, soften the knees again. Bring the hands onto the hips, lengthen the chest as we just sit back a little deeper into that. This time we'll take the hands high, breathe in, hands through the heart, exhaling forwards. Fingertips onto the shins again as we lengthen the body, fold it in. Allow the knees to soften as much as you need to get your ribs and thighs to touch, and then lift up. So it's an actual touch that you're looking for, not a close to, but an actual definite, yep, I made contact. Lift up on the shins again, and then as you fold down, bring the hands onto the hips, lengthen the spine out. So first of all, that gets us used to bending the knees and taking the strength into the legs, but it also gets us used to moving in that space. So we'll just come up onto the fingertips and draw the chest forwards. And then fold in, ribs on thighs again, hands on the hips, and we'll lift up. We'll take that one more time. Onto the fingertips, let the legs open out. And soften the knees, ribs and thighs touch. We'll take the hands to the floor whilst we're here and step back into down dog. And we're going to take a little walk with that down dog. If that feels good, you can by all means keep it nice and steady. It's your choice, your down dog. See what your body needs. So quite a long down dog. Giving ourselves plenty of chance to get used to working those shoulders open, letting the chest drop through. Come into a nice steady position. A final drawing up of the hips and back, and then we'll float forwards into plank and just let the knees come down for cat-cow. Just bringing them gently down to the floor, bootlaces change to press into the ground. Tailbone lifts, chest lift. Tailbone flicks down, middle of the back lifts up. Draw the belly in, round out through the ribs. Just moving slowly, finding out where the sticky points are, if there are any. Again, this is something that seems to change on a daily basis. And we'll come back into a neutral position. Tuck the toes underneath again. And we'll just lift the knees away from the ground just an inch or so. And press the hands into the floor. So you're kind of pushing yourself backwards a little bit. Another 3 breaths. And then we can open up into down dog. And I'll step it out a little bit wider to my natural position. I'm going to take scissor dog now. So I'm going to take the right leg high. Opening the hips a little to the side and drawing up onto the tiptoes. I'm going to bring my right knee gently in towards my chest. Squeeze that in. Then move gently into plank, keeping the knee into the chest. Slowly move back into down dog. And then inhale, take the leg high into that scissor again. Bring the knee gently in towards the body. Float forwards. Ease my way back. Extend the leg up towards the sky. Bring the foot down to the floor. We'll change over legs. So taking the left leg high. Draw the knee in towards the chest as you strongly holding that down dog. Then you can come forwards. Then we move back. Then we lift. So really just slowing it down. Drawing the knee in again. Coming forwards. Moving back. Opening the leg out to the sky again for the last time. And bringing the foot back down to the floor. And walk the toes in towards the front of the mat. So just sliding feet along the floor with straight legs as long as I can. Come up onto the fingertips. When you're at the front of the mat, bring the hands onto the shins, lift up halfway. And exhale back down. Hands onto the hips, we lift. Slowly up. Take the hands out wide and up towards the sky. And as I do, wriggle the toes together so they touch. Little gap for the heels. Hands into the heart. Soften the knees over the toes as I squeeze the thighs together and sit back into chair. Try to keep the spine long and the shoulders nice and broad. And slowly going to lift up. Take the hands up towards the sky on the inhale. And then up through the fingertips, really draw the shoulders up around the ears. As you exhale, bring the hands back in towards your heart. Take a breath. Soften the knees again, sit back. Maybe a little lower this time. It does kind of require you to remember how low you got the first time. It's just a feeling, not necessarily a reality. I will take this into revolve chair. We're going to take that right elbow across to the left thigh, just to the outside, and then draw the chest forwards, opening the shoulders and chest alongside of the mat, trying to keep the hips square. So just check your knees are pressing together. If you've got one knee in front of the other a long way, it's usually the hips that have moved out. So you just wiggle your bum back into the center. Come back into the neutral position in the center. Take a breath. Rotate round the opposite way. Again, just observing where the knees are and then trying to lengthen the chest out of the pelvis. Drawing the shoulder blades back. We'll come into the center, drive through the legs, lift up high, and take the feet out hip distance apart again. Hands come into the heart, we exhale down to the floor. Come up onto the fingertips. Lengthen the legs and the chest. Fold it in deep. We'll step back gently into down dog. Come forwards into plank, and we'll take half plank and up dog. So just bending the elbows in gently, turning the bootlaces, inhaling up, strong legs, belly in, shoulders back, and then lift up with the hips into your down dog. We'll take the hands to meet the feet, back of the mat. Hold in deep. Lifting the hips as we press the feet down. Head hanging low. Last breath here. And we'll bring the hands under the hips again, lengthen the spine and soften the knees to lift up. We'll shake it out a little bit as we come up to the front of the mat. Now we're going to need the strap. Let's take that over the top of the shoulders to start with, and come into Tandasana at the front of the mat with the feet together. Bring the hands in towards your heart. We'll take a step out to the right, and then we're just going to open the legs out as far as we comfortably can. So you can take a little time to kind of wriggle and inch the feet out just that little bit more. Okay, now we're going to move into Warrior Two. First of all, we're going to take the star pose. So the idea of this is to let us lift the hands. When we're looking directly forwards and the arms are out to the sides, peripheral vision hopefully allows us to see where the hands are, and we can judge whether they are evenly heighted from the floor. Not sure, I just made a word up there. And then stretch out through the fingertips and see if you can relax the shoulders down a little bit at the same time. Draw the belly in lightly. Okay, so we're just imprinting that feeling into the body. We'll turn the front foot and the back foot towards the front of the mat and sink into the front knee. So we're trying to keep the pelvis, these 2 points here, the same distance from the floor rather than leaning forwards into the pose. Now we're going to take our hands back in and just lift the strap off. And then bring the strap through the hands. So I've got it, just open my thumbs, fingers out. And then bring my hands in towards my chest, high, right up to the collarbone, elbows out to the sides. Now I'm going to hold the rear hand nice and tight and slide the front hand out. And then hold on to the strap. You can take a little breath here. And then start to try and draw that strap apart, keeping a very firm grip so that it doesn't slide through the hands. So it's very much more an archer's pose. Not having done any archery, this is how I imagine an archer would stand in Warrior Two. So getting used to drawing that shoulder back, pressing the hand forwards. And then we can release. So it's just a little isometric stretch to put some icing on top of the cake. I'm going to put the strap over the neck again. Straighten the front leg gently, turn the toes to the long side. So I've still got the same stance I had before. I'm going to reset the arms, lengthen out, but drop the shoulders down, draw the belly in a little bit. Think about the tailbone. Where is the weight in the feet? Is it even through back, front, and sides? Okay, and slowly turn the feet towards the back of the mat this time and sink into my front knee for my Warrior Two position. Bring the hands back in and just move the strap off of the shoulders. Again, just wrapping over the top of the thumb lightly, fingers spread. Lift the elbows, take a nice strong grip in what is my rear hand. Slide front hand out, take a breath, and then start to draw that hand back. And one hand pressing forwards. As you do, keep the belly in. Look through the front hand. Connect the feet with the ground. Strong legs. It's quite hard to keep stretching through. There's a little bit of give in the strap, but not a lot. And we can release from there as well. Straighten the front legs, and we'll just put the strap down onto the floor. Allow ourselves to zigzag the toes back in. It should feel a little bit different across the front of the shoulders and the chest at this point. We'll bring our feet back into hip distance apart, taking the hands high on the breath in. Into the heart, we exhale down to the floor. We'll come on to the fingertips and lift up. Fold it in. And step the right foot back. We're into a lunge position with the knee off the ground. On the fingertips, draw the chest forwards a little bit. Press out through the back heel. Bring the hands to the floor and step back into plank. Keeping the hips high. We'll take half plank and up dog again. So just taking our time to move in gently. Lift up slow. Roll through the hips. Back into down dog. We'll draw right knee in and bring that through. Lunge. Come onto the fingertips. Lift the chest. Drop the hips. Strong back leg. You should be able to feel like the inner groin and the buttock just stretching out a little bit on that long leg. We'll press off the toes into our forward fold. Sink down deep. Bring the hands onto the hips. Soften the knees a little as we lift up. And then we'll take that. Again, just leading with the left foot this time through. Come on to the fingertips. Fold in. Left foot back deep. Onto the fingertips. Roll the shoulders back a little bit. Lift the chest. And step back into the plank again. Come forwards into a half plank. Take the up dog. Down dog. So it takes a lot of more strength to slow that down and move through. But it gives you a chance to be precise with how you draw your shoulders back and how you keep them wide and look after your shoulders. Less chance of injury, but it is a little bit more effort. Okay, we'll draw that left knee in. Bring that through for the lunge. Place the foot carefully, lift the chest, and then step it forwards, sink in, hands into the hips, and we lift up. Inhale high, hands into the heart. Exhale down to the floor, fingertips for the lift. Fold it in. Step the right foot back. We're going to come into warrior two. Drop the heel in. Bring the hands alongside the body as you lift the chest. Cartwheel open. And then we'll take the hands high. Slowly rotate towards the front of the mat and lengthen out. So it's like a power lunge. Back foot is still flat to the floor. Then we bring the hands down. Turn the heel on the back leg. Drop the back knee. Now, planting the right hand to the floor, I'm going to take the left arm up towards the sky. Rotate it back. See if I can feed my foot in. Find it. Been a little bit tricky today. Obviously, I've brought my longer legs to the class. Draw the heel in, turn the chest up. Take some nice deep breaths in. Feel the lungs and the ribs stretch open. Bring the hand back onto the outside of that front foot. Step it back into plank. Half plank and up dog. Back into down dog. We'll draw the right knee into the chest. Lunge. And then press forwards into the fold. And we'll lift up and we'll do the whole thing again. just the other way around. Inhale high, hands into the heart. Shift weight into the toes as you come down. It's very easy to drop into the heels. Come up onto the fingertips. Lengthen the chest forwards. Really draw the shoulders back. Fold it in deep. Taking the left foot back and dropping it in, ready for warrior two. Hands alongside the body, we lift. The cartwheel open. Pause just for a second. Find our balance. Take the hands high. Rotate out into the power lunge. And then bring the hands to the floor. Step it back into a plank. Half plank. To up dog. To down dog. And we'll draw the right knee into the chest. Bring that through for lunge. And on the exhale, step forwards. Hands onto the hips and the lift up. Inhale high. And through the heart. Exhale again to the floor. Onto the fingers to open up. Fold it back in. Step it out on the right side for warrior two. Bring the hands alongside the body. Lift and cartwheel open. I'm going to take the hands towards the sky and bring them down onto the inside of the front foot. Walking the fingers around slowly to the long side, turning the toes in. Allow yourself to adjust those legs out as much as you need to. And then with that long flat back, we're just going to hinge from the hips and let ourselves fold in. See where we get to. Avoid pulling yourself down with the neck. Try to imagine that you can press and move your hips upwards. And the body is just hanging down in a very neutral position. Press into the hands to lift back up. Walk around to the front of the mat, back into lunge. Step back into plank, half plank, up dog, to down dog. And we'll take the right knee to the chest, bring it forwards into the lunge. Take the breath in and step it into the front of the mat. Hands onto the hips with a lift, and we'll take that to the second side. Inhale high, hands through the heart. Onto the fingertips for the lift. Fold it in. The left foot back. Warrior two. Inhale high, hands to the inside. As we come down, walk the fingers along. Turn the toes in. Just a couple of breaths here to get a little bit of space for the hips. So pressing the tailbone back, the belly's drawn in a little bit. And then again, we fold gently down. Try to keep the elbows roughly shoulder distance apart. Actually helps keep the shoulders out wide away from the ears. They sink around a little bit. It gets a bit claustrophobic. Making space. Pressing those hips up. Feet down. Last breath. Lift. Walk the fingers around again to the front end of the mat. Step it back into plank. Take half plank. So up dog. Down dog. And we'll draw the left knee in. Final lunge. Press off the toes. Hands on the hips. Nice easy lift up. Put the hands in towards your heart. Take a step out to the right. Nice and wide. Now bring hands onto the hips. I'm going to turn the toes in, sorry, the heels in. That's the other end of the foot. And then soften the knees. So we're coming down into goddess pose. So I'll bring the hands onto the thighs. And I'm going to wriggle out and adjust a little bit with my feet until it feels like I've got a nice comfortable angle for my knees to be out to the side. So some of us are going to be flatter than others. And we're going to bring the bottom down to about the level of the knees. Don't need to go any lower than that. We're going to take a breath from here and allow ourselves to lean forwards and bring the hands to the floor. We're going to bring the right hand onto the ground pretty much underneath your chest. And take a little twist to the left, taking the left hand up. We'll come back down. And we'll go across the other side. So as we twist open, we're trying to keep the bottom in the same position. 3 points of contact, so this is really easy. Apart from the fact that your hips are locked into position, they can't move at all. And then we'll come back down. Now we're going to slowly lengthen the legs up, come onto the fingertips, turn the toes in, and slowly, carefully wriggle the feet back in until they're pretty much underneath the hips. Hands onto the hips, soften the knees to lift up. I'm going to take my left foot, my right foot, so the toes are on the front of the mat. I'm going to take my left foot back, so my heel is on the back of the mat, and I'm about hip distance apart. Bringing the hands onto the hips, so thumbs touch the spine, draw the belly, and we come into pyramid pose. Go lean forward slowly. Keep the legs strong. Fold it in, and then release the hands down to the floor or to the shin if you can't reach the floor. Press both feet down into the ground. Now, one of the things that we do when we come into pyramid pose is we have the pelvis turning underneath. It's not just a flexion and extension of the leg backwards and forwards. So if you can imagine where the center line is, and imagine that your hips are over that, try and have them centered. So the front hip joint leg and the back hip joint leg run in the same line down the center line of the mat. So usually we have to pull the front hip back a little bit, and the back hip comes forwards a little bit. Take a last breath here. Soften the knees just a little bit. Put the hands forwards. Allow yourself to adjust the feet so they're on the center line again. And then we're going to wiggle the feet out super wide, just like we did before. We turn the heels in, toes out. Walk the fingers towards the front end of the mat. And I'm going to lift the front heel off the ground, pivot on the back heel, and sit down gently into a deep squat. And then adjust the fingers back into the front line of the body. Now, you're actually going to try and press out through this heel and draw this thigh back in at the same time while sitting on top of the heel. From there, if you want to take it a little further, you would bring the hands away from the floor if you feel that you've got enough stability in that standing foot, and bring the hands in towards the heart so that you are as high up as you possibly can be. Obviously being careful not to fall over, especially if there's anything behind you. The alternative to that is to really just come up onto the fingertips, feeling confident about taking less and less weight into the fingers. It's just a little bit more assured when we're in there. Okay, we're going to take the hands to the floor again, and we're going to move gently to the other end of the mat, and we're going to scoot as low as we can. So keep the bottom down, cross over, hands follow, ease yourself into the second side. Bring the hands again in front. Remember to lengthen out and draw in. It's a push me pull you, famous from Dr. Dolittle. Lots of lovely time to really work into that long leg. And then we're going to bring the hands to the floor again, move ourselves back into the middle. Allow ourselves to come up onto the fingertips and zigzag the toes back in, about hip distance apart. Bring the hands onto the hips and soften the knees. And this time, left foot goes forwards, right foot goes back. Thumbs on the spine, draw the belly in. Press down through both legs. And slowly hinge over. Bring the hands down to the floor or onto the shin, as we talked about before. Think about the center line, the hips, draw the belly in, let body fold over, that front thigh. Okay, we'll soften the front knee. Bring the back foot into about the middle line of the mat, and then start to take the feet out wide again. So come into that big triangular setting for the feet. This time we turn the heels out, toes in, lengthen the body along, and then just take the hands gently behind the back and interlace the fingers. There's a little bit of lifting going on. As soon as you do that, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then fold again from the hips. Ease our way down. Once you've gone as far as you can, then see if you can draw the shoulder blades together a little more and lift the hands up towards the sky, and then over your head towards that long side of the mat. Bring those hands down again onto the spine. Lengthen the body forwards. Bring the hands back down to the floor. Take a little breath. Zigzag those toes back in. And then bring the hands onto the hips, soften the knees, and a slow lift off. And at that point, your legs should be just about finished. We'll come up to the front of the mat. Feet distance, hips distance apart again. Take the hands up towards the sky on the breath in. And then bring the hands through the heart and exhale down to the floor. You should feel quite a difference in the legs, like they've done a bit of work. You're going to step back into plank and then just bring the knees to the floor. Bring the elbows to the ground. And then come down, face down to the floor. We'll take a locust pose here. So we'll bring the hands alongside to the hips, arms facing down. The feet are about hip distance plus a little bit, and see if you can roll the heels out. Then on the inhale, we'll lift the chest and the arms. Squeeze the shoulder blades together a little bit and come back down. So do that again. This time we'll also focus on lengthening the legs out, pressing them down into the floor at the same time. And then come down. We'll take 3 more of those. So inhale up. And down. 2 more. The last one. Now we'll take 5 with the legs lifting as well. So think of drawing the thighs away rather than the toes. Inhaling. Diaphragm expands a little bit, so it helps with the lift. 2 more. Last one. As we arrive, we'll take the hands wide for gecko pose. So we'll come up onto the fingertips, roll the shoulders back again. This is an exhale, drawing the belly in and pressing the legs away and down as the chest lifts. And we inhale on the way down. Exhaling up. And inhale down. Number 3. Shoulders back. 5. And down. Good. We come back onto all 4s. So we'll bring the hands down to the bottom of the ribs, tuck the toes under, lift, bring ourselves back onto all 4s. So we're going to take the right hand up towards the sky for thread the needle. Bring that through and down and under. Let the shoulder and the ear come to the floor. Walk your left hand forwards as far as you can. And then if you wish to, you take your left hand over to the right side of the mat, trying to keep the elbow straight. So it's a straight arm. And getting a little bit more opening into the chest. Rolling the shoulder blades into the center of the spine. And we'll bring that hand back. Press away from the floor. Float the other hand up. Bring it back down. Drop the shoulder in. Walk that right hand forwards. Oops, got bricks and blocks in the way. See how that feels. If it feels good and you wish to, again, you can take the hand over. And try to bring the shoulder blades to squeeze together into your spine. You'll notice that that action actually pulls a little bit on the pectoral muscles in the front of the chest. The connection is with the shoulder blade muscles. You feel those squeezing in, and as they squeeze and contract, you get the stretch around the front. Now bring the hands back and press away from the floor. Oof. And the knees forwards a little bit. So I'm going to take the brick now with me, and I'm going to have the block as well towards the back of the mat. Letting the legs come out in front. Again, to ease down gently onto my spine. Letting the knees come in towards the body, I take them wide and bring my hands on top of my knees. Now I'm just going to sit here for a moment and let let my neck and my shoulders kind of unravel themselves, and the hips as well. Doing nothing more than breathe and letting the body relax into the ground. And then we'll begin to make some circles. So I'm actually going to exhale. Use the hands to draw the knees a little closer towards me, tucking the tailbone just a micro amount off of the floor. As I exhale, I press the knees away wide. And then as I run out of arms, I bring the knees back in towards the center, draw the knees back in again, and a little micro crunch, and roll it back out. And notice as you do this, whether your chin elongates itself towards the end of the mat. If it does, try and keep your chin in towards your throat a little bit so you're not arching in your neck. Okay, we're taking that as a almost last one. This will be the last circle. And I'm going to bring the feet to the floor. Arms out nice and wide, crucifix style. I place my brick in between my thighs. I'm going to have it on the narrowest setting. And then I'm just going to slowly allow myself to draw the knees in towards the body. So the feet are off the ground. And then I'll flex the feet a touch as well. Slowly roll the legs over towards the right, keeping the shoulder on the ground and my head looking directly towards the sky. I'll bring the knees back again. Try not to press down through the arms or the shoulders, and roll across to the opposite side. And once you've got as low as you can go, you come back. Now you avoid the knees and the feet actually bouncing into the ground. You want them to be hovering just a little bit. You'll notice that you get the impression that you're starting to navigate your way down the mat, getting closer to your laptops or whatever you're using to watch this. Just a few more to do. Might be a little bit of creaking and cracking in the spine. That's a good type of creaking cracky. You don't have to go down super low to feel the benefits of this. I'm going to take it to my left side for the final time. And then keeping the brick where it is, I'm going to bring the feet to the floor and see if I can imagine my heels being directly underneath my knees, ready for bridge pose. I can bring the hands back down by the side of my body and swivel the shoulders underneath a little bit, palms facing down. And then on the exhale, draw the belly in, take the tailbone away from the floor and start to drive the hips towards the sky, lengthening the thighs and the buttocks forwards towards the front of the mat. So you'll feel the muscles across the shin tighten a little bit as well as you do that. Take a breath at the top and then roll it gently back down. So these don't need to be any more than a straight line between knee, hip, and shoulders. So we're starting to get a little bit of a tease into those hip flexors. We've done a little bit of work into the spine. We've done a lot of forward folds, so I need to do a lot more. Should feel a healthy clenching of buttock as you do this. That last little bit of stretch, you kind of know it's there, but coordinating it and getting all the muscles to work together in the right way is a little bit tricky. And press into the hands and the shoulders just a little bit as well. And we'll release down to the floor. Whew. We'll take the brick out to the side, pick the strap up again. Allow myself to take the right knee in towards the body. Draw the strap around the sole of the foot. Take that leg towards the sky. I'm just going to bind the strap loosely, then let it slide through the fingers. Once the leg is straightened, just reclamping the hands. And then I'm going to lengthen out the left leg and get a little bit of internal rotation. Flexing the foot. Draw the shoulder blades down to the floor. And then I'm going to draw the heels and the feet back in. Chin towards the chest as I set up for the second leg. Just put that left knee in. Again, just simple bind around the hands until the leg is fully extended. Then tighten the grip and then move the shoulder blades down. So you get that little bit of extra stretch into the leg, a little bit extra resistance just by holding the shoulder blades flat to the floor. We'll slide the right leg out. Remember that internal rotation. So the foot is flexed. And we release from there. Bring both feet back in again so you can untangle from the straps. And then we're straight into Shavasana. You can use the block underneath the back of the head if you wish. And lengthening the legs out to the corner edges of the mat, letting the feet roll open into the side of the body. Loosening the jaw. Let's close very softly and we just sit down. So we've worked slow and strong today. We've opened the legs and made them do a lot of work as well. So now is a chance to kind of let all that soften back down into the ground. Feel that pranic force moving around your body, that warm feeling of knowing that you've done some work, done some good. And slowly we start to stretch those fingers and toes. And then wrists and ankles to join in. Breathing a little deeper into the ribs. Eventually taking a long stretch. And when that's finished, we draw the heels along the floor back in. And take a gentle hug, whatever feels good. And then when we're ready, we'll roll over to the right side. Just allowing ourselves to stay in that thinking position for a breath or two. And releasing down completely. And we'll use an exhale of our breath to lift back up. Sitting tall, we can bring the hands in towards the heart, taking a deeper breath in, closing the eyes, bowing the chin to chest, drawing the belly in, sinking to the floor to seal our practice. Letting the breath build the spine back up, head lifts, eyes open. Namaste. Thank you very much for joining me this Friday sunny morning, and hope to see you again soon on the mat. Take care.